times have you had problems with sewage in your basement?
Just last year in the spring.
How many times have you had problems with sewage in your basement?
I've been here since October of 2002.
In the spring.
Or October of 2000, and this is the first time this has happened. I've been here since October of 2000, but it's not the first time that it's happened to, or October of 2000, and this is the first time this has happened to me, but it's not the first time that it's happened to a lot of neighbors.
I have lived
You know, the drains
here
out there is moving so fast
not
from
quite
all
8
the water
years,
going
and it's
into
happened
it.
at least
So
5
what happens is when the drains is going
You know,
so
the drains
fast,
out there is moving
it don't
so
have nowhere
fast
else to go.
from
It
all
backs
the
up
water
into
going
my
into
house.
it.
Well,
So what
I've owned
happens
the gallery
is
for
when
the
the
past 6
drains
years,
is
and this is
going
the
so
second
fast,
occurrence
it don't have nowhere else to go.
major
It backs up into
raw
my
sewage.
house.
And I've owned the gallery for the past 6 years, and this is the second occurrence. In certain areas, this time major 20 raw sewage. And I'm talking major. I'm
I
talking
moved here
a
in
foot.
'94.
In certain areas, this time it reached 20
When in
inches
'94, the
of raw
first year,
sewage coming in.
I had moved here in '94 in the basement, and every year after that, when in '94, the first year,
We were
I
shocked
had
to learn we were getting sewage at the basement. We just thought it was
and then
stormwater.
Yeah, we did.
every year
Okay.
after that.
So we went down there in
We
the
were shocked to
beginning when
learn
there
we
was
were getting
still
sewage
water
in
and
the basement.
everything,
We just thought
thinking that it was just
stormwater.
stormwater until I called the. So we went down there in the beginning when there was still water and everything, thinking that it was just stormwater until
Right
I
after it
called
happened,
the
our house just
MSD and they
leaked.
told me no.
I mean,
And that's when we
you walk
discovered
in and
it
you're
had
like,
been
"Woo!"
sewage right.
What happened here? Right after it happened, our house
In our
just
front yard
reeked.
at
I mean,
8
just-
o'clock that
you
morning, I
walked
did
in,
take
you're like, "Woo!"
pictures
What happened
of
here?
the manhole
Potty in the
cover
basement?
in our front yard.
Spewing, and I'm guessing it was probably
at
about
8
6
o'clock that morning. I
inches
did take
high
pictures
around the rim
of the
sludge.
manhole cover, bits of toilet
spewing,
paper,
and I'm guessing
all
it was
kinds of
probably
things,
about
anything you can
6
flush
inches
with
high
in there,
around
I'm
the
sure.
rim.
And that was
Sludge.
coming out for a long while.
Bits of toilet
in our
paper
front
and
yard.
all kinds of things. Anything
Probably
you can flush with.
15, 20
in
feet
there,
from
I'm
our
sure.
front door.
Been
And
here
that was coming
28
out for a
years,
long while.
and
in
every
our front
time we
yard.
have a
Probably
strong downpour,
15, 20 feet from our front
doesn't
door.
have to be as hard as this last years. And every time we have this time was 5.5 feet raw sewage. Doesn't have to be as hard as this last over the washer, over the dryer. Our basement comes up. Picture was floating. This time was 5.5 feet raw sewage. An autograph. Over the washer, over the dryer. My Elvis picture was floating. I got one of the red scarves too. I had an autograph. Anyhow, the bust of Elvis Presley autographed. I got one of the red scarves too. This was out here. Anyhow, washer and dryer were disintegrated. Dryer was out here. The washer was tipped over. This was out here. You can see the washer and dryer were. Dryer was out here. Here's the water line for the electric box. Over.
The electrostatic air filter and my furnace, the power
Here's
pack
the
was
water
not
line
that
for the
zapped
electric box.
because the water got electrostatic air filter and my furnace into my dryer. The power pack on that got zapped because the water got the washing machine, my furnace, into the water got into my dryer. It just so happened that into my furnace, the washing machine was already up on blocks. Otherwise, that would have been gone.
One time we had
it just so happened
I mean,
that
it got about
my
three
furnace
and a half feet deep
was
in my
already
basement
up on
one time.
blocks. Otherwise, that would have been
And we
gone.
had one time we had a pretty good flood. I mean, it got about three and a half feet deep in my basement one time. And we had. We started counting up all our damage. We quit when it got up to about $12,000 or $13,000 because my homeowner's policy only covered $5,000.
I had an awful lot of damage this time, and even though I built everything so that it's totally up off the ground, unfortunately no one can anticipate that you're going to have 20 inches of water. So as a consequence, there was a lot of work in process that was damaged, a lot of my working materials from my frame shop were damaged, as well as a lot of irreplaceable fine art, because that's my business.
The problem is that in an older neighborhood like this, that the storm drain and the sewage are a combined system, so that when it rains really hard at one time, the storm drain can't handle it, it backs up into the sewer system, and then when both of them can't handle it, it has nowhere to go and it finds the a route of least resistance, which is through the pipes, through our basements, through the commodes, through the whatever.
We have a flood drill. Most people have a fire drill. All my children and my wife and I, we know what we're responsible for doing. Okay, one of the things is that we roll our carpet up and put it up on folding chairs. You could not see the backrest of the folding chairs. The water was that high. See our chairs? I put hangers up so we can hang the chairs up. This is a normal routine for us.
I would say it really escalated when we had this development put in across the street, and then there's a development further up creek off of Bonham Road. But I would say the sewer lines are not capable of handling more homes tapped in there.
Did you complain about this problem to MSD?
Yes.
And what did MSD tell you?
MSD told me that they would log the complaint into their files, and that was it.
I've called MSD about the problem probably more than 30 times.
And what did they tell you?
MSD has always been very nice when I've called. They've always been very pleasant. They always said they realize there's a problem. They're working on the problem. The problem is they don't ever do anything to solve the problem.
Have you talked to MSD about this problem?
Yes.
And what did they tell you?
Well, originally they kept saying that it was not the sewer district's problem, that it was the stormwater people. It was their problem. So then you talk to them and they say it's the sewage people's problem. Nobody would ever accept responsibility for it. And then we actually had the Hamilton County engineer come out, and he said he was going to do something about it, and that never happened.
MSD told me that, first of all, I had trouble getting to the right people. I called MSD, and they said I had called the wrong person. They told me to call the engineers, and I called the engineers. Then they asked me to call the solicitor's office, and I called the solicitor's office to file a complaint. And then I finally got a hold of people at MSD, and this was on the 6th of May. She told me that they had been aware that something happened in Hyde Park, and she asked me why I didn't call right when it happened. The event happened on the 10th, and I called on the 6th. And I said, because I didn't know that I could call MSD on this. And she said I should have called right then and right there, because they would be able to send a crew right away to catch the source of the problem. But unfortunately, even if I had called on the Saturday afternoon that I came in, it had already happened. I was sleeping when it happened.
It has risen all the way up to here.
Uh-huh.
So that's where they had cleaned the wall
I
off.
see.
And now you can tell recently
that was the
where
recent one.
Water,
Okay.
And you can see back here where the drain just, I left it, I didn't touch anything. Where it backed up. And this is what I get. And sometimes I get BM and everything else.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. It smells terrible.
Yeah, it does smell terrible.
Well, then the water comes up through the sewers. It goes down through the sewers. So then we have to wade through the water, the muck, because of the combination sewer, and unclog those drains so the water goes back down again.
MSD has never said that we can file suit to reimburse us for any of the damages caused by this. That all they ever say was turn it into your insurance company.
I am aware that I could file a claim against MSD for damages. Someone from MSD did give me the card for the city solicitor, and I did write the city solicitor a letter in 2001 asking for payment of the damages in my basement, and I was told that the city is not responsible for it because backup of sewage is an act of God.
This is the first time in all of these that anyone has given us a damage claim to submit to the city of Cincinnati, the city solicitor. They've given us this cleanup policy before. It doesn't tell you a whole lot.
They gave me a one-page sheet telling me how to clean up, 10 parts water to 1 part bleach and spray everything down. And that's pretty much the only guideline that MSD gave me in cleaning up the raw sewage in my basement.
No, MSD never gave me any kind of instructions as to what to do with regard to the raw sewage. No guidelines, nothing.
From what I understand, when you're dealing with, sewage and dirty water and stuff like that. It's not anything you can just let dry up because of the chances of all kind of bacteria building up down there. And I don't want to take any chances of my children, getting some kind of disease.
No one told me anything. I had just recently had surgery less than a month previous to that. I had open incisions on both legs, and since I'm a nurse, I'm well aware of the precautions, but no one from MSD has ever shown any interest in the fact that sewerage could cause any kind of disease problems or be unsafe.
Did MSD give you any precautions to take when cleaning up raw sewage or warn you of the diseases that could be carried in raw sewage?
No. As a matter of fact, they weren't even saying anything about raw sewage or...
They came by and left a flyer on the door that said that it was hazardous and that we were to use protective clothing, and then also any kind of clothing that was fibrous that was exposed, that it should be thrown out, basically.
We thought we had the problem mitigated. We've put in another sump pump. We've put in a new gate valve because it broke probably back in, I think it was the 95 flood. It actually broke the gate valve that was in the down within our basement floor. The plumber said it was so strong it just snapped it. We've put in glass block windows, we've made sure gutters are clean and all sorts of things. But when MSD is pumping a problem onto our property, anything we pump out from a sump pump is just pumping back into the property. It's a vicious circle at that point.
They've come out quite a few times. They've put smoke in my drains, they put dye, flushed it down my toilets, they've checked all my downflows. They've told me that none of the problems are due. I'm completely in compliance with all the laws. There's nothing that I do, nothing that happens in my yard that causes the problem, nothing in my house. And that I am the only one in the entire neighborhood who has this problem. Nobody else has the problem but me, which I really find very hard to believe.
I left flyers on all the houses in the neighborhood, and a total of, probably about 7 households contacted me and said that they had also had problems with sewage coming up in their basement.
This entire building, I can tell you, had the same issue, and I know that many of my neighbors, the residential neighbors on Edwards, have come down and have expressed their sympathy for me because the same thing happened to them. And I also know that some of the businesses a little further up towards Erie on Edwards have also had backup and flooding.
I think, it's a terrible health hazard, and it's a health hazard for many people for the backup that goes into the creeks, and kids play in the creeks, kids play in Mill Creek over here. I just think it's a terrible problem, and I don't think, as the letter stated, that MSD should be allowed to store their backup sewer water in my basement.
There is raw sewage in my front yard, and MSD deems it our responsibility to clean that up. If I walk my dog and he does his business in someone's yard, I would get fined if I didn't clean that up. And yet MSD is allowing their material, for lack of a better word, to sit on my property and telling me I have to clean it up with bleach in my front yard.
And I was mad when I found out that I had received their standard line. I naively bought it. I went, yeah, okay, water's flowing fine. What do I know about a sewer? And I think a lot of times education is a good way to get people out. The more people that know, the less places the MSD can hide.
All I can say is there needs to be a lot more of us to step up to the plate and talk about these problems. Well, like you said, I don't like my basement being used as a holding tank. I don't think that we should have to buy out I don't know how many families just so they can put a hole in the ground and ruin a neighborhood. Fix the problem. Fix the sewer lines. Fix the storm drain. Fix the problem. Putting a Band-Aid on it isn't going to fix it.
The Sierra Club wants to see reinvestment in our age-old sewer system. And we're talking about $1.5 to $3 billion worth of sewer improvements. This is something that's going to take a long time. Obviously, this is going to be the next big project for Hamilton County. The Sierra Club recently did a study actually to find out whether or not this would be affordable for Hamilton County residents. And according to the EPA guidelines, sewer rates cannot exceed 2% of the median income. Currently, we are functioning at 0.5%. And if we were to gradually raise sewer rates over the next 20 years to reinvest in the sewers with capital improvement projects, probably $1.5 to $3 billion worth of capital improvement projects, we would never reach that 2% level. And therefore making it very affordable for Hamilton County residents. This is something that we want to see done. This is something that we need to see done. We cannot keep having raw sewage backups into residents' basements. We cannot keep having raw sewage being dumped into our rivers and creeks and streams. It is unhealthy and it violates the law.